Welcome to Implausible Nature, your home for all things Black Templar. On today's video, we are talking about Fight on Death. So this Templar Tips is something that has come up several times on both our Discord, other Discords I've been a part of, and I think there's a lot of confusion around Fights on Death, and more importantly, what bonuses you get and what bonuses, like buffs, special abilities and whatnot, don't you get. So I think there's a common assumption that when you fight on death, you get everything. So if you have, for example, the most common example is going to be a Sword Bro squad that has a Marshal and Castle attached to it. People are thinking they're going to get 5+ crit hits with rerolls to hit. It's not how it works, right? So we're going to talk about the rule, exactly how it works, examples of what you do get, what you don't get, and why. So first, let's talk a little bit about the Fight on Death rule. So there's a couple of places that we have access to it. One of them is Gladius as a stratagem, and that is only in death does duty end. It is a 2 CP strat. You target one Adeptus Astartes unit that was selected as a target of attacks, blah, blah, blah. And it says, until the end of the phase, each time a model in your unit is destroyed, if that model has not fought this phase, do not remove it from play. The destroyed model can fight after the attacking model's unit has finished making its attacks and is then removed from play. The other option that we have is, and the reason I bring it up, is because the wording is slightly different. And it says, while this model is leading a unit, each time a model in that unit is destroyed by a melee attack, if it has not fought this phase, roll 1d6. On a 4+, do not remove it from play. The destroyed model can fight after the attacking unit has finished making its attacks and is then removed from play. Important to note, besides the 4+ difference, it says while this model is leading a unit. That's important, and we'll get to that in a little bit. But first, let's talk about leaders in general and what that means for this, right? So when you have a leader and a bodyguard unit, and the leader rule says while a bodyguard unit contains a leader, it is known as an attached unit. And with the exception of rules that are triggered when units are destroyed, it is treated as a single unit for all rules purposes. That line is incredibly important, and there are other things that back this up as well, but the important key here, as you can see highlighted, is with the exception of rules that are triggered when units are destroyed. So it is a single unit for all rules purposes, except when it comes to things that are triggered when a unit is destroyed. So then we have this little paragraph from the rules commentary, and it says, page 39, leader, add the following. Each time the last model in a bodyguard unit is destroyed, each character unit that is part of that attached unit is no longer part of an attached unit. It becomes a separate unit with its original starting strength. If this happens as the result of an attack, they become separate units after the attacking unit has resolved all of its attacks. So what does this mean? This means that when you fight on death, if the entire bodyguard unit, or even the entire unit, including the characters, is destroyed as a result of the enemy's attacks, that the character and the leader and the bodyguard are now separate units. So you might get, for example, in the case of the Gladius strat, they can all fight because it's chosen as the whole unit, right? And it says until the end of the phase. That's important to note. Timing, persisting effects. We'll get to that in a second. But they'll all get to fight. However, the leaders are no longer leading the bodyguard unit, right? Because with the exception of rules that are triggered when a unit is destroyed, they're treated as a single unit. So they're no longer a single unit, and this backs that up with, it becomes a separate unit with its original starting strength, and it happens after the attacking unit has resolved its attacks. So it resolves its attacks. That's when you fight on death, and then you're no longer one unit. Okay? So there are some rules that do allow you to retain a bonus or a buff and there are some that don't. So there's a ton of different examples of this. We're going to focus on the most common ones that are applicable for us as Black Templars. So the first one is going to be the Marshal. The Marshal's ability says, Inspirational Exemplar. While this model is leading a unit, each time a model in that unit makes a melee attack, an unmodified hit roll of 5+ scores a critical hit. So anything that says while this model is leading a unit does not apply because it is no longer leading that unit. They are destroyed, and they are not considered a single unit any further. This is also addressed in the rules commentary, and you can see right here this paragraph, while this model is leading a unit. These rules only apply while the model with that rule is a part of an attached unit, and otherwise they have no effect. While a model with such a rule is part of an attached unit, it will also benefit from its own rule. If an attached unit contains more than one model with such a rule, both models are considered to be leading that attached unit, and so all such rules apply. Such rules cease to apply if that unit ceases to be an attached unit, such as when the last bodyguard model in that unit is destroyed. If this is a result of an enemy unit's attack, while this model is leading a unit, rules cease to apply after the attacking unit's attacks have been resolved. So, if your entire bodyguard unit is destroyed or the entire unit itself is destroyed, they are no longer leading a unit. So the Marshal's crit hit 5s do not apply if the entire unit is dead or if the entire bodyguard is dead. Now, that being said, if even one bodyguard model survives, he is still leading that unit. So you've got maybe the characters or character and a single bodyguard unit or model is still alive. They're still one unit because they haven't all been destroyed. So in that case, that would apply, right? So if the whole unit's destroyed, you don't get it. If one model in the bodyguard unit survives and they remain an attached unit, you will get it. Now, let's move on to another example, the Castellan. So the Castellan has different wording. The Castellan has, while this model is leading a unit, so again, same wording, however, it's slightly different because it says each time that unit is selected to fight, take a leadership test, blah, 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 blah. When you fight on death, you are not being selected to fight. You may fight, but you are not being selected to fight. The unit is not being selected to fight. This is also covered in the rules commentary, and it says when a rule allows a model to shoot or fight after being destroyed, but before being removed from play, does that model's unit count as having been selected to shoot or fight? No. As such, any rules that trigger with that trigger do not apply. So because you have to have been selected to fight for the Castellan's ability, in addition to being led, continue to be led, he won't get it no matter what. So you'll never get the rerolls to hit for the Castellan, unfortunately. Now, that being said, there are some buffs that we will get regardless of whether the entire unit's destroyed, all the characters or all the bodyguard unit is destroyed or not, you will still get these rules. So, for example, Chaplain Grimaldus is a great example of this. His Templar relics says in your command phase, if this unit contains one or more Cenobite Servitor models, select one Temple relics ability. Until the start of your next command phase, this unit's Chaplain Grimaldus model has that ability. And for the Water of the Stoop of Elucidation, improve the armor penetration characteristics of melee weapons equipped by models in this unit by 1. So the AP you will get. Now, his rerolls to hit say while this model is leading a unit, right? So you won't get that if the entire unit is destroyed, but you will get his AP, and here's why. Persisting effects. This is also, again, from the rules commentary. Some rules apply an effect that lasts for a certain duration. Such effects are known as persisting effects. etc., etc., etc. The important part here is if a persisting effect applies to an attached unit and that unit ceases to be an attached unit because either all of its bodyguard models or all of its leader models are destroyed, any persisting effects continue to apply to the surviving unit or units for their full duration. So Grimaldus with a unit, if he and the entire unit is destroyed, or the entire bodyguard unit is destroyed, and you choose to fight on death, like with the Gladius stratagem, they will get the AP. They will not get the rerolls to hit, but they will get the AP. Okay, so let's kind of sum up here. Let's take a look at what abilities you get, what you don't, and so if the entire unit is destroyed, you're not going to get abilities that say while this model is leading a unit. You're not going to get anything that requires you to be selected to fight. You will, however, get any persisting effects. So something like Grimaldus' AP because it lasts until the next command phase. So you will still get that. If the unit survives with one bodyguard or more remaining, then you will get anything that has, while this model is leading a unit. You'll, of course, get any persisting effects. You will not still, however, get anything that requires you to be selected to shoot or fight. So hopefully this clears up this fairly confusing and quite a lot of rules references here for this one seemingly innocuous rule. Yeah, so there you have it. So yeah, so if you guys have any comments or questions, don't hesitate to let us know down in the comment section. Don't forget to like, subscribe, all the YouTube algorithm stuffs. Helps us grow the channel and get more visibility out there so we can help more players like you. If you're interested in our Patreon and supporting the channel, we have YouTube memberships as well as Patreon. Check us out at patreon.com/implausible nature, or click that subscribe button join button on the YouTube membership. Lots of cool benefits going on with that. Check out our Discord as well. And until next time, keep on crusading.